The morning sunlight spilled softly through the blinds, casting golden stripes across my cluttered bedroom. Clothes were strewn across the floor, a haphazard reflection of my chaotic life, or rather, the secret life I had only recently begun to explore. My name is Johnny, a 23-year-old college graduate who had spent most of his adult life hiding a part of himself, a side of me that craved femininity, fashion, and the thrill of transformation. I had always been drawn to women's clothing, not out of fetish, not out of confusion, but out of sheer fascination with the artistry, the freedom it represented, the way it made me feel alive. Growing up, I had often sneaked into my sister's closet, experimenting with her skirts and blouses in the privacy of my room, savoring the thrill of slipping into a world that felt completely my own. But life had taught me caution. I couldn't let anyone see this side of me, not my friends, not my family, not even my girlfriend, Isabella. Isabella was special. She had an almost uncanny intuition, a combination of charm, wit, and a teasing playfulness that could disarm anyone. I loved her dearly, but I had always kept Johnny and my secret persona separate. She knew me as confident, slightly shy at times, but always composed. She didn't know about the side of me that would spend hours in front of a mirror, perfecting makeup, styling hair, slipping into stockings and heels, feeling complete. The room smelled faintly of vanilla from the candle I'd lit the night before, a small indulgence that made these secret moments feel sacred. Today, though, there was a tension in the air, a nervous energy that made my fingers fidget with the hem of my t-shirt. This week was different. Isabella had issued a challenge, a playful, yet audacious proposal that would completely blur the lines between Johnny and the persona I'd hidden for so long. "You have to be me, for a week," she had said the night before, eyes sparkling with mischief. "Completely. Dresses, makeup, high heels, everything. I want to see if you can handle it." I had laughed nervously at first, thinking she was joking, but the glint in her eyes told me otherwise. She had even handed me a small, glossy box, a set of her favorite lipsticks, each shade carefully chosen to transform not just my appearance, but my confidence. I hadn't opened it yet. I wanted to savor the moment, let the anticipation build. Now, standing in my bedroom, I faced the reality of her challenge. A week. 7 full days of embodying a persona I had only dared to explore in private. The thrill of it coursed through me, a dangerous, intoxicating mix of excitement and fear. Could I do it? Could I step fully into this world without faltering, without letting my secret slip? I glanced around my room. My reflection in the mirror stared back, unremarkable, average, a boy who blended seamlessly into the background. Yet beneath that ordinary exterior, a storm of desire and curiosity roared. Today marked the beginning of an experiment, a transformation, a journey that could change everything about how I saw myself, and perhaps how the world might see me if anyone discovered the truth. The setting of our apartment was cozy, small but intimate. Warm wooden floors, shelves lined with books, soft lighting that made evenings feel safe and personal. It was perfect for a secret like this, where I could explore, stumble, and grow without the fear of public exposure. Yet Isabella's challenge introduced a risk that made my pulse race. For 1 week, I would not just explore, I would perform. I would live as the person I had only ever dreamed of becoming. My relationship with Isabella was a delicate balance of trust, desire, and mutual understanding. She knew me better than anyone else, could read my moods like an open book, and yet she had no idea of the depth of my secret indulgence. This challenge wasn't just a test of my ability to cross-dress convincingly, it was a test of trust, of vulnerability, of surrendering a part of myself to her control. And strangely, the thought thrilled me more than it scared me. I took a deep breath, feeling the tension in my shoulders ease slightly. I imagined the week ahead, the silky feel of a dress against my skin, the click of heels on the hardwood floor, the careful application of eyeliner and mascara that would transform my gaze. Each small detail held power, a chance to step outside of Johnny and into someone new, someone bold, radiant, unapologetically feminine. As I started to open the lipstick box, I felt a shiver of anticipation. The first color was a soft, vibrant pink, delicate but commanding, like a whispered secret. Holding it in my hand, I realized that this wasn't just about appearance, it was about identity. For a week, I wouldn't be hiding. I would be showing, exploring, living the side of myself I had only ever dared to imagine. And then came the first rule Isabella had set: no backing out, no excuses. Each day, I would step further into this world, learning, adapting, embracing.
Failure was not an option.
I felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration, a tension that made my heart race and my mind whirl with possibilities. I looked around the room one last time before starting, knowing that the ordinary world outside would continue as usual, oblivious to the secret transformation I was about to undergo. The challenge was clear, the stakes high, and the thrill undeniable. This was not just a week of cross-dressing, it was a week of self-discovery, of surrender, of embracing a part of myself I had hidden for too long. Taking a deep breath, I picked up the lipstick, applying it with careful precision. The mirror reflected not just my face, but the first glimpse of Alyssa, the persona that would carry me through the week, the persona that would challenge every assumption I had about myself, and perhaps change the way I lived forever. As the final swipe of color touched my lips, I felt it, the surge of excitement, the rush of anticipation, the thrilling, terrifying knowledge that life was about to change. And deep down, I knew, I was ready. The first morning of my week-long challenge began with a nervous energy that I could barely contain. The sunlight filtered through the blinds, warm and indifferent, as if the world outside had no idea of the experiment I was about to undertake. My reflection stared back at me, Johnny in name, but on the brink of something entirely different. I stepped into the living room, where Isabella had left a neatly arranged outfit on the sofa, a pale pink dress, soft and flowing, paired with delicate white heels.
I felt my pulse quicken.
The sheer fabric promised transformation, and the heels, oh, the heels would force me to walk differently, to inhabit a body that felt both alien and thrilling. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing thoughts. This was not just play, this was surrender. As I changed, I felt the first brush of vulnerability. The skirt swirled around my legs like a whisper, the fabric soft against my skin. The heels clicked softly on the floor, each step a reminder that I was crossing a threshold. For the first time, I noticed the small details I had always loved, the curve of the dress, the softness of the material, the way it framed my figure. My reflection in the mirror was unfamiliar yet intoxicating. Isabella's voice echoed in my mind, "You have to own it, Johnny. Be her." Her instructions were clear. This was about more than clothes. It was about embodying a persona, Alyssa, the feminine version of me that had always been whispered in secret, now given a name, a life, and a week to bloom.
The makeup bag was next.
Soft powders, a blush that promised warmth, mascara to lengthen lashes, eyeliner to accentuate eyes. Each brushstroke transformed not just my appearance, but my posture, my confidence, my very energy. By the time I finished, Alyssa was emerging, a delicate, confident, and striking version of myself that felt utterly alien yet impossibly right. I touched my lips, still tingling from the lipstick, and realized how thrilling it was to see this reflection looking back at me. The first challenge of the day was simple yet intimidating, a video call with my team at work. I had been working remotely, and they had no idea of my private week-long experiment. Sitting before my laptop, the camera framed Alyssa perfectly, hiding Johnny completely. The adrenaline surged as I clicked join call.
"Morning, Johnny," one colleague greeted.
I froze for a split second before replying in a slightly higher pitch, careful to maintain composure.
"Good morning."
"Sorry, had a late start today." The colleagues laughed, oblivious, as I navigated the meeting, all the while acutely aware of my posture, my hands, my voice. Each subtle shift reinforced Alyssa's presence. I could feel a strange power in this duality, the control, the secrecy, the thrill of walking a fine line that no one could see. After the call ended, I sank back into the sofa, heart pounding. The initial rush of success made me smile. I was doing it. I was Alyssa. And I was alone, free to explore this identity without scrutiny. The afternoon brought new temptations. I wandered into the small living room and found Isabella's makeup tutorial notes she had left behind. Each page was a temptation, a roadmap for deeper transformation. I tried new techniques, eyeshadow blending, contouring cheeks, shaping brows, and with each step, Alyssa felt more real. My reflection was no longer Johnny hiding behind makeup. It was a living, breathing persona that demanded to be seen. Yet, beneath the thrill, a flicker of doubt lingered. What if Isabella or someone else caught me unprepared? The thought tightened my chest, a reminder that every thrill came with risk. I could almost hear the whispers of shame, of discovery, warning me that this dual life was fragile. By evening, I decided to push further. I walked to the nearby park, wearing the dress and heels, heart hammering with every step. The sensation of the wind against my legs, the heels forcing a new gait, and the curious, subtle looks from passers-by sent a rush through me. Some moments were exhilarating, others humiliating. My first few steps outside were clumsy, awkward, and yet perfect in their imperfection. At a cafe, I caught my reflection in the glass. Alyssa smiled back, poised and confident, yet there was a tremor beneath the surface. Could I maintain this facade for a week? Could I navigate the ordinary world, fully exposed, without faltering? Each sip of coffee was a reminder of my duality, the thrill of being seen as Alyssa, the fear of being discovered as Johnny. Back home, the adrenaline had faded into quiet reflection. I undressed carefully, folding the dress, placing the heels neatly beside the sofa. Yet even as I returned to my usual clothes, a piece of Alyssa remained with me. The way I held my hands, the lightness in my step, the confidence in my posture, it lingered like a secret perfume. That night, Isabella returned. She walked into the room with a playful smirk, surveying me with a mixture of approval and amusement. "How's my little experiment going?" she asked. I blushed, words caught in my throat. It's amazing," I stammered. She laughed, circling me like a cat surveying prey. "Good. Remember, it's a week. No shortcuts. You belong to me this week, Alyssa." The weight of her gaze, the authority in her tone, the thrill of surrender, it was intoxicating. I realized then that this week wasn't just about cross-dressing, it was about discovery, surrender, and embracing a part of myself I had always hidden. Each day would push me further, challenging my comfort, my identity, and my limits. As I prepared for bed, I looked at Alyssa in the mirror, her reflection faintly illuminated by the soft lamp glow. She smiled back, confident, radiant, and daring me to continue. I knew then that the journey had truly begun, not just a week of play, but a week that could change everything about how I viewed myself, my desires, and my courage. The first day had been a success, yet the week was long, full of temptations, challenges, and moments that would test my limits. Alyssa had taken her first steps into the world, but the path ahead was uncertain. Every choice, every glance, every small slip could unravel the experiment. And the thrill of it was nothing I had ever known before. The days passed with a mixture of exhilaration and tension. Each morning, Alyssa returned to life like a secret ritual. The careful application of makeup, the selection of outfits that felt daring yet comforting, and the measured steps in heels that forced me to walk differently, to inhabit this new body fully. But the week's midpoint brought a heightened sense of urgency. Isabella had left for a few hours, leaving the apartment unexpectedly quiet, and I realized I had pushed further than ever before. I decided to try something bold. A new outfit, a deep red dress with a tight bodice and flowing skirt, paired with black stilettos that seemed almost impossibly tall. My heart raced as I adjusted the dress, feeling the curves accentuated, the soft fabric hugging my body. For the first time, I experimented with more dramatic makeup, dark eyeliner, crimson lipstick, and carefully contoured cheeks. Alyssa was no longer just an experiment, she was an identity I could almost believe in. I practiced walking in the heels, the clicks echoing in the empty apartment. Each step was a mixture of exhilaration and fear. I could feel the power in owning this persona, but I also knew that one wrong movement could expose me, not just to Isabella, but to the world if I ventured outside. The first real test came when a sudden knock at the door startled me. My heart leapt. No one was supposed to visit. I crouched, trying to calm my pounding chest, and peered through the peephole. A neighbor, smiling and holding a package, stood there. Panic surged through me. I wasn't ready to be seen like this. Just a moment. I called out, my voice slightly higher than usual, trembling. I scrambled, trying to find something to cover myself, but the red dress clung mercilessly. With trembling hands, I opened the door just enough to grab the package, feeling the neighbor's curious eyes linger a fraction too long. My cheeks burned as I muttered a barely audible thanks, slamming the door shut. The adrenaline left me shaking, my heartbeat hammering in my ears. Alyssa's confident exterior had been pierced by the threat of discovery. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed every movement, every click of the heels, every glance that might have given me away. Isabella had left a note teasing me. Every challenge has a risk. How will Alyssa survive? The words both excited and terrified me. The next morning, I dared to venture outside. The city was alive, buzzing with activity, and every passerby's glance felt like a judgment. I walked carefully, hips swaying naturally now, heels steady beneath me. Each movement was a test, each smile from strangers a temptation to reveal myself further. I felt eyes linger, some approving, some curious, and a thrill unlike anything I had known surged through me. Returning home, I found another obstacle, the mirror in the hallway. I caught my reflection mid-step, and Alyssa looked radiant, confident, poised, and undeniably feminine. But beneath that surface, Johnny still lurked, aware of the fragile balance I maintained. A slight misstep could collapse the duality. Later, Isabella returned unexpectedly early. I had been lounging, feeling a rare moment of comfort, when the sound of her keys rattling in the door made my stomach drop. I froze, unsure if I could revert quickly enough. The door opened, and she stepped inside, eyes sharp and calculating. "Why, hello there, Alyssa," she said, her tone playful yet commanding. I smiled nervously, adjusting my dress, trying to maintain composure. She circled me slowly, eyes scanning every detail. "The heels are too high, the dress too tight, but I like your courage." My pulse raced. Every word, every glance from Isabella was a reminder that my secret was vulnerable. She stepped closer, tilting my chin upward. "This week is not just about looking like her," she whispered. "It's about feeling it, living it." "Can you do that, Johnny?" "Yes. I think so," I stammered, my voice trembling. Isabella's hand rested on my shoulder, firm and controlling. The sensation sent a shiver down my spine. I realized then that this week was not just a test of identity, it was a test of trust, submission, and courage. The real challenge came when I had to attend a small gathering with her friends. Isabella insisted Alyssa join her for the evening, leaving Johnny completely concealed. I dressed meticulously, choosing a soft lavender dress, matching heels, and carefully styled hair. My reflection in the mirror was mesmerizing. Alyssa was alive, ready, and entirely visible. At the gathering, the stakes escalated. Conversations flowed around me, friends commenting on Alyssa's elegance, unaware of the dual identity beneath the surface. I laughed, moved, and interacted with confidence, all the while aware that one slip of the tongue, one misplaced gesture, could reveal me. A sudden incident heightened the tension. Someone brushed against my shoulder, knocking the clutch from my hands. I bent to retrieve it, heels teetering, and felt the world tilt for a split second. Heart hammering, I regained composure, but the thrill was intoxicating. Alyssa's presence was not just visible to others, it was consuming me. By the end of the evening, I returned home exhausted, both physically and emotionally. The week had pushed me beyond limits I hadn't known existed. Each moment, each risk, each thrill had deepened Alyssa's presence, embedding her within me in ways I couldn't have imagined. As I prepared for bed, I looked in the mirror once more. Alyssa's reflection smiled knowingly, eyes sparkling with mischief and daring. The week was far from over, but the peak of tension had arrived. I had embraced the persona fully, faced real-world challenges, and survived close calls, yet the underlying uncertainty remained. How far could I go without losing Johnny entirely? How much of Alyssa could I reveal before the consequences became irreversible? The week was almost over, and a strange mix of relief and reluctance weighed heavily on me. Alyssa had become more than a persona, she was a revelation, a daring experiment that had transformed my every thought and movement. Yet Johnny, the part of me that still clung to normalcy, hovered at the edges, uneasy and wary. That evening, Isabella returned home earlier than expected, her eyes glinting with mischief. "Well, Alyssa," she said, her voice both teasing and commanding, "it's almost time to see if the experiment was successful. Are you ready for the final test?" I swallowed hard, my heart hammering in my chest. The final test? My mind raced. What could it be? Would it expose me entirely? Or was it a challenge that would force Alyssa and Johnny to merge fully? "Why, yes," I stammered, trying to steady my voice. I adjusted the dress, smoothed my hair, and took a deep breath, though my hands trembled. Isabella circled me slowly, inspecting every detail as if measuring my courage. "You've done well," she murmured. "But now, you must leave the apartment and step into the world as her. No turning back, no excuses. Do you think you can handle that?" The weight of her words pressed down on me. Stepping outside had already been a thrill, the thought of doing so fully, without any fallback, was terrifying. My reflection in the mirror stared back, Alyssa's confident eyes meeting mine. Could I really embody her completely, face the outside world, and survive the scrutiny of strangers, friends, and even Isabella herself?
Suddenly, the phone rang.
Isabella answered and listened for a moment, then turned toward me with a sly smile.
It seems our timing is perfect.
There's someone waiting for you, someone who's been curious about Alyssa for a while.
My stomach dropped. Who? Why now?
My mind raced, imagining every scenario: discovery, humiliation, or worse, exposure to someone who could unravel everything I had built this week. I'll go, I whispered, though every nerve in my body screamed to run, to shed the persona and retreat into the safety of Johnny. But retreat was no longer an option. Isabella's gaze pinned me in place, her subtle dominance both terrifying and exhilarating. The ride to the destination was a blur. My legs shook in the heels, hands clutching the small purse tightly, trying to calm my racing heart. I focused on breathing, on channeling Alyssa's confidence, yet each glance from passers-by felt like a test, every reflection in the shop windows a reminder of how exposed I truly was. When we arrived, Isabella ushered me into a softly lit room. A figure stood waiting, silhouetted against the light.
My pulse accelerated.
Recognition hit. I knew this person, though I hadn't expected to see them here. Their presence made the tension spike, a mix of fear, anticipation, and forbidden excitement coiling in my chest. "Meet Alyssa," Isabella said, her tone triumphant. "She's ready for you." The figure stepped forward, and my heart nearly stopped. The room felt too small, too charged, every sound magnified. The click of my heels, the rustle of my dress, the intake of my own breath. I froze, unsure whether to speak, to move, or to pretend. They smiled, a knowing, almost mischievous smile, and the air seemed to thrum with possibility. "So, you're Alyssa," they said softly, eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Yes," I whispered, the word tasting strange on my lips.
I
am." Isabella leaned back, watching with a satisfied expression, as if the moment were orchestrated for maximum impact. Every instinct screamed that this was the point of no return. Every nerve in my body shivered with a mix of fear and exhilaration. The figure stepped closer, close enough for me to feel the warmth of their presence. My reflection in the mirror across the room caught my eye, Alyssa in full, radiant, and unguarded. Yet beneath the surface, Johnny still lingered, a hidden witness to every heartbeat, every trembling sigh. And then, just as the tension reached its peak, the lights flickered, plunging the room into shadows. The sudden darkness sent a jolt through me, and a voice, low and teasing, whispered from somewhere near. "Will Alyssa survive, or will Johnny fight back?" The lights snapped back on. The figure was closer, their expression unreadable. Isabella's eyes gleamed with mischief. My heart pounded as I realized the truth. Nothing was certain anymore. The week, the transformation, the thrill, it all hung in delicate balance, and a single misstep could reveal everything. I stood frozen, caught between exhilaration and fear, between Alyssa and Johnny, between exposure and secrecy. My pulse raced, my mind spun, and the air seemed to thrum with anticipation. Could I maintain this new identity? Would I survive this final test? Or was the world about to see the real me, all at once, and shatter the delicate balance I had fought so hard to maintain? The story ends with my gaze locked on the figure before me, heart hammering, mind whirling, and the cliffhanger unresolved. The world of Alyssa and Johnny hanging by a thread, leaving viewers desperate to know what happens next.